And we are live. Hello, everybody watching. I am here, Ella. I forgot we're streaming to both our Hogs and Kisses, our brand new Hogs and Kisses Facebook page, as well as our Empowered Vegan Life family. So many of you in Empowered Vegan Life probably know me. I'm Ella Majors and Sexy Fit Vegan, and this is Anne. Hey, Anne.
Hi there.
You're joining us on site.
Yes, I'm here at the farm.
For those of you watching, and if you haven't listened to or watched our podcast episode, the Vegan Life Coach podcast episode from this week, Anne and I did that one together. Anne is the founder of Hogs Kisses Farm Sanctuary. So if you haven't listened to that one, definitely go back and listen. This is kind of a bonus, a follow-up, because you were not live from the scene at that point. So this is exciting.
No, I was with you in Miami.
That's right. And now you are back in or just outside of Charlottesville, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. And you're on the land that has been purchased where our animals will go, and also where your home will go. So I'm excited for you to show us around. But first, and I think there are some people, and Jamie's watching. Hey, Jamie. Jamie's awesome. She always comes on and supports us on all these things. She's one of our Vegan Life Coach Academy members as well. And will you just, first of all, we kind of assume that people know exactly what a sanctuary is, or I do at least, and then we get some questions, and we got some questions about this. Well, what exactly makes something a sanctuary? Can you talk about that a little bit? Oh, and especially a micro sanctuary.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So with all of in our food and agriculture and the way things are grown, right? Factory farming had come about over the years, obviously to try and ensure a larger production, right? Mass demand, all this kind of thing. Well, it's it's not a perfect system by any means. So a lot of it is that there are certain abuses that occur in that factory kind of system. So in the 80s, there were a lot of these animals that somehow were being kind of like jumping off the trucks headed to slaughter. There's a lot of different ways and stories. Anyway, so this kind of spill off of animals ended up going to what we think of as a sanctuary, or like a safe haven for animals to live out their lives in their natural habitat, being supported and not looked at as food for production. So these sanctuaries are, hundreds of acres with lots and lots of animals on them. And there are a few big ones that are well known. The first one ever started was called the Farm Sanctuary. Gene Bauer's kind of the pioneer. So now more recently, people who really want to get involved in this, much like us, we may not want to take on hundreds and hundreds of acres of that, right? But we do love animals and we want to be able to provide them a safe home. So this movement around micro sanctuaries have now started. And that can run anywhere from, say, 5 animals to even something like 50 animals or so is still considered micro, a small situation. So yeah, anyway, it's really honestly just a nice, safe place for them to live out their lives.
Yes, and that micro sanctuary thing is like a movement now. Yeah. And it's funny, and I would love to hear from you guys watching. First of all, say hello in the comments. We want to see who's here and who's watching us. But also we'd love to hear from you guys, because every time I talk about the micro sanctuary and what we're doing, I have so many people that are like, oh my God, that would be a dream. It would be a dream. All my animal lover people out there that are just like, that would just, it just feels so good to even think about being out there on a farm that's a farm with so much compassion that's going to help these animals live out their lives in a safe and loving environment, which, speaking of which, there's a lot more to it than I thought there was. When you said that you're starting the sanctuary and asked me to be on the board, I was like 1,000% yes, I can, of course. So now we're getting into the nitty gritty of actually planning it out. And there's just, my mind is slightly blown with all that's going to go into this. It's not as easy as, oh, we want some pigs and a cow and let's just go get them. There's so many that need a home. This will be great. Just bring them in. They're like our big pets. But a lot more to it than that. So will you talk about, first of all, what animals you think we're going to be starting with? But everybody else would like to know. And Jamie said, yes, she related to that very much so. She loves animals so much. But yes, what the first few animals that are coming and what you're doing right now to get ready for them.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's very different than this idea of like going to a shelter and picking out a cat, right, or a dog, because that's such a domesticated kind of situation, right? So yeah, we are doing this out of a love and a passion, right? I mean, I love animals and I want a relationship with a cow, a pig, and so forth, horse, bunny, whatever. So in doing that, we have to be really responsible. I mean, absolutely, we should go after our passions and nothing's going to stop us, right? And at the same time, like you said, there's so much to learn. So there is somebody I'd like to do a little shout out to, and her name is Jill. She's from Healthy Herd Consulting. She is somebody who helps people want to start farm sanctuaries. She's been in the farm sanctuary life for over a decade. And we're definitely leaning on her for, as Ella had said, a lot of this planning. Some of the first animals that we think we're going to bring onto the farm will be probably bunnies and or rabbits and pigs, farm pigs, because basically, as we knew we were starting this nonprofit, COVID had occurred and I was doing all this paperwork and all this, but joining and networking with other groups and found out that there were some pigs that needed saving. And basically they were owned by backyard farmers up in New York. And they actually fell in love with their pigs and couldn't send them to slaughter anymore. So they sought out to send them to a sanctuary. And the larger sanctuary that has been kind of the middleman here it was at capacity and couldn't take them in. And so I said, you know what? I don't have any land. I'm just starting my nonprofit, but maybe we can help. So we have literally been sponsoring these 11 piggies since April. We're working to rehome most of them because it would be ideal if someone in, say, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, somebody close by could take them. But if not, then we will absolutely open our barn doors, right, to them. And our hopes are bringing those piggies on in the spring.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be shameless in the fact that, yes, we are a brand new nonprofit, 501c3. And we are, although we don't have animals yet on our farm, and you don't mind if I say our farm, do you?
Yeah.
We are sponsoring, like you said, these 11 pigs with food and vaccines and everything that they need to be cared for. And so they are sticking with those owners who love them very much, who can't afford to keep them. And right now there is just no room in other sanctuaries. We haven't found them another home. So we're like, okay, we got to get this done. We got fences to build. We've got barns to build. We've got so much to do, a lot of which is a huge expense. Our website.
Yes.
And we are accepting donations at this point, and we of course appreciate every penny that anybody wants to donate. So I'm just throwing that out there right away, shamelessly. To the animals and everything that they need. So what do they need, Anne? What do we have to do to get ready? And do you want to show us a little bit about?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm just going to jump actually up in the car and ride up the pasture and show everybody where the piggies will likely go, so that you can kind of see it. And yeah, as you can tell, like when you see it, you'll see it's raw land, right? So we need, I mean, this is from the ground up, right? So we are needing to put in the proper fencing. And when we think about this, kind of fencing, we are going to have it be where the pigs are, enclosed and so forth. We're not going to do electric fencing likely. It'll be wood posts with woven wire around it, no climb woven wire for the pigs. And then we're going to build a barn. We're going to have trough. We got to put in water well spigots. I mean, you name it. And also too, at some point, I mean, because the land has a little bit of a nice slope to it, nothing crazy. But we will have to put in some type of water mud hole for the pigs, you know, in the summertime, because pigs don't sweat. So that's why they roll around in the mud. So we'll have to think about that as well.
Yes, that's just
I'm going to drive up.
Yes.
Okay.
Jenny said she's having trouble hearing me.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo, I think.
Oh, maybe I need to. It says echo cancellation. Not working. No, maybe not.
So also, I'll show you, we have a really pretty pond over here. Hopefully you all can see that as I go by. That's likely in the future, we may take in some ducks or geese. So that's where they will live. And we'll end up building them a nice home as well, like an enclosure to put them up at night, such that predators can't get them and such.
Oh, yes, the predator thing.
Yes.
Any better?
I still hear it. It's a little bit in the background.
Never happened before. Well, I'll let you do most of the talking.
Okay. So what we're passing here is this pasture. We've got about, say, 5 acres of this pasture that will be in front of our actual home. And we are plotting out right now where the pigs will go and where the cows will go. As we mentioned, it'll be a micro sanctuary. So what we end up bringing on, the land will hopefully be maybe something like 4 pigs and maybe 2 cows, a couple bunnies, that kind of thing. So that will be all up here, up front. So as you can tell, that our house will come over that way, and we'll likely put in fencing and barn all here in this front acreage, which is about, like I said, about 5 acres or so. Beautiful. There. Yeah. We've got a really nice knoll here, to be able to have our house on, and we can absolutely have a great sight line to the animals as well in front of us. And we'll also probably end up putting the bunny enclosure, bunny coop around there too. Of course, again, being concerned about predators and such, you want to keep the bunnies close to the house.
And you put up a cam.
I did. I ended up putting that trail camera right there. And actually right about here is where that lovely cheeky deer ended up taking a squat, popped a squat right there in front of the camera. Almost like it knew.
Oh yeah, you want to film me?
Right, yeah, I'll give you something to look at. So, yeah. So that's like what's going to happen with the layout up front there. We do have some acreage in the back as well. I don't know if you all can see it, but it does run up the mountain there, which is all part of our property. There's a bit cleared in the back also. So we'll, in the future, have some area to grow into. We are looking to put a bed and breakfast on here that's not a part of the nonprofit, of course, but we are trying to build this kind of vegan oasis, if you will, a vegan retreat, so that people can come and meet animals and see them and experience them, just feel close to nature, that kind of thing, here at Hogs and Kisses.
Awesome. And I'm really sorry, you guys, about the audio. Not sure what it is, but we do have a question, if you can hear me.
Awesome.
From Jessica. Hey, Jessica. She said, silly question, but do you have to feed the cows or do they just graze on the grass?
This is a great question. So ideally, right, they would be eating grass and that the pasture itself would be nutrient dense enough for them. Okay. Which, by the way, this whole pasture of that 5 acres, we do have to end up spreading lime on it just to help the soil come up to speed. You need that for crops. And then also, because we will have a crop garden ourselves, but then also to get the pasture up to par for the cows to be able to graze on it. Now, the thing is they eat so much grass. So you have to put in a rotation with the cows. So maybe they're on their pasture of a few acres or what have you in a certain section for that week. Then you kind of rotate them because you want then the land to be able to heal and the grass to regrow again. So maybe in the winter when this might be covered with snow and things like that, you then supplement what the cow eats, usually with hay and a few other things with that. So it's like a mixture, and the more natural you can do it, great, but you do need to supplement.
Got it. We had another question about pigs, knowing that they root.
Yes.
I've heard of them like escaping. What
yes.
Is that true? What do you do to prevent that?
Yeah, really great. So they are notoriously known for that. So yes, we do need to make sure we have a sound structure in terms of the fencing. That'll be right, the first thing. And then second to that, pigs are really social animals. Like they have a lot of strong social bonds. So if they are bonded with their herd of pigs and they're being fed and they're being treated well, they'll have no reason to run. And this is something that is philosophically a sticking point, because a lot of times with farmers who raise pigs for production, maybe their environment is not as plentiful. They don't necessarily have a large pasture to roam. And so maybe they're having to eat, sleep, and go to the bathroom in the same place, which is not the way that they should be raised naturally. But many times farming, you're trying to scale up, or even factories, right, where they really don't get to move at all. Then they get really unhappy and they do try to escape. So, when we go to sanctuaries over and over again, as I have been going out and visiting, volunteering, getting consulting, over and over again, if you provide everything that animal needs, they want to stay. They don't want to run. So that's really what we're trying to do.
Awesome. Mike asked, will the pigs and cows share the same land?
Pigs and cows, no. So cows, and especially horse, eventually if we have one, their ankles can break very easily. So if there are pockets in the land and things like that, they could potentially break ankles. So the reason they wouldn't stay with pigs is because pigs are root animals. So naturally they like to dig up the earth. And in a lot of cases, it's really great to have them even forage around in a forest. They can clear that out, right? So, no, we wouldn't keep them together. In some cases, you could keep cows and horses together if they get along. But again, it depends on the breed, depends on their temperament, whether they're used to being with those other animals, whether they want to bond with somebody with a different species, right? So it kind of depends.
Yeah. What else? What have you learned from Jill? What's like one thing that you learned from Jill that you had no idea was something you needed to think about ahead of time?
Yeah. I would say most recently this, as I've been looking into rabbits, because it looks like we could probably take in a couple of rabbits really soon, as we start to transition, building this farm here, right, on the land. As I've been looking into rabbits, I didn't realize that actually, if your enclosure for a rabbit is not so secure, and say a potential predator is encircling or trying to rip at the enclosure such that the rabbit gets startled or scared, that it literally can go into shock to the level where it kills itself. Like it will die from the shock of possibly being a meal for that coyote or fox or what have you. I did not realize that they were that delicate. So many people believe that bunnies or rabbits are so easy, to handle and take care of, but they're actually very delicate animals. So, you know, for those who are thinking, oh, I want to get my children, you know, a bunny for Easter, really, you got to make sure that you really look into it, that you're dedicated to that animal before you think about taking it in, because it is. So that's my biggest learning. Definitely, rabbits are very delicate.
Wow. Yeah, you would think because they're so small and
Yeah.
like, wow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. And then other than the consulting from Jill, you know, I have been going out and doing a bunch of volunteering at pig sanctuaries, of course, just to kind of get in and learn about them. I have been delightfully learning about their personalities and how smart they are. A lot of them supposedly remember faces and, you know, and smells of people. So it's really interesting to be able to learn. And anyway, that's the part I love, is developing the relationships, right, with these animals. So.
Yes, so exciting. We had Jennifer Twerkin join us. Hey, Jennifer. We've got
Hi.
a Facebook user who I can't see who you are. You've got to give StreamYard permission. And in the post, if you go back to the post, there's a link to give StreamYard permission so I can call you out by name. So, yes, Anne, this is just amazing. Amazing.
Great.
Anything else? What, in terms of the expenses that are at the very beginning, what are we looking at here? What are we looking at? What's the bottom line?
Right. Aside from the land, okay, because that's a huge expense, right? You know, fencing really is the largest thing, because we got a predator proof for sure. And then, you know, ongoing costs are feed and, of course, vaccines, right? And those tend to be doable expenses. But things like, for instance, these piggies that we're likely going to transport down from New York, they have not been spayed or neutered, because again, they were being raised for production. But if you're keeping an animal, pigs in particular, for the length of their life, they're actually known to be prone to getting cancer if you don't spay or neuter them later on in their life, you know, or spay or neuter them, they get cancer later on in their lives. So that will be another expense, because there are only very particular places that will spay and neuter pigs. So, and of course, a good thing about doing that too is it helps calm their temperaments as well. So, you know, there's just benefits all around. So that's an expense. Of course, the barn as well is an expense too. We need temporary, even like corralling fences as well. We're going to need wood for the enclosure for the bunnies and feed for that. I mean, it's you know, troughs, right, for water, for food. We're putting in a water well and a spigot, and we're thinking about having it heated because we have winter and summer, right? You know, all the different seasons here. So we will have to put in some heat in the barns. I mean, so it's everything. It's like building a little community, you know. So I could go on, but that's kind of the initial lift off the top of my head.
Amazing. Okay, well, we are at time, Anne. Is there anything else that you want to share? I think we've got all the questions right now answered, but I think we're gonna have to do this again, because I think
yes, sure.
But anything else you want to close with?
Just that, you know, we're going to be doing a bunch of kind of awareness campaigns coming up in the next few weeks over the holidays. So would love everybody to just go out and like us and share us with others, so that we can kind of spread the word as we're starting to get built. As we've mentioned, it's all from the ground up, right? So we will also have some volunteer days. I know I'm in Virginia, but if there are people close by who want to just come and paint a fence or help us put the fence in the ground, we'll take you up on some help too.
Yes. We want to make this something that we get to just include all of you guys in, because it's so, you know, so interesting to be able to be there from the ground up. I think most people don't get that opportunity. So we want you guys to be involved and learn with us. And so if you have any questions or anything, just reach out. We're here. Like our page. We'll have lots of opportunities. All right, you guys. Well, that's it. Thanks, Anne, so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Jennifer wants to paint, so we'll
awesome.
that.
Yes.
We'll have a painting party. All right.
That would be fantastic.
Love you, Anne. Love you all.
Love you.
Thank you so much. Talk
Bye,
to you
everyone.
later. Bye, guys.